Good morning, Facebook world. This is Dr. Kaveh Lahyun coming to you guys live with another fantastic interview today. Our guest today, Dr. Patrick Flynn, will be joining us. We will be discussing what he does and how he does it. It is absolutely great to have this wonderful doctor on board, and hopefully we can have some and see how things go. We're just waiting for Dr. Flynn to join us. Dr. Flynn, good morning. How are you?
Hold on a second, Doc.
I am doing great. Good to see you, and thank you for your time. And allowing us to do the interview.
Doc, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
All right. This is Dr. Patrick Flynn joining us from Wisconsin, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Perfect. Please give us an introduction and let us know what you do and how you go about doing it.
I've been in practice for about 21 years now. I started here in Green Bay, Wisconsin with quite an interesting story. I've always been interested in health my whole life because I was a sick kid, and it was kind of neat. And what ended up happening was kind of as I went through my understanding of as a child going through medical care and things like that, obviously, you know, I didn't have the success that we wanted. And of course, I stumbled upon being a chiropractor and gained my nutritional background and things like that. And so I've always had a focus on having children in my care. And it was quite interesting because I was actually diagnosed as a juvenile delinquent as a child. And I always felt like my skin was crawling like 100 miles an hour and had all these issues. So I found the way of actually coming up with something a little bit different that way. And that's what led me to go, like I said, to get my nutrition degree, go to chiropractic school, and then go on to my other education that way. But then something interesting happened to me in my last end of chiropractic school. I ended up meeting a woman who, for example, was told that she could never have children. And it didn't make sense to me with all of our understanding of how the body works and things like that. And so what ended up happening is I said, okay, you know, what's kind of going on? And I started to actually dig deep into the way the medical system talked the majority about hormones and all the things all these female issues, and it didn't make clinical sense to us. So I started to research what they were doing with her and I remember, and I'm just finishing up chiropractic school, and then it's kind of interesting because she had endometriosis. She had ulcerative colitis, she had cystic acne, and she had cluster migraines. And so what ended up happening was I said, listen, I disagree with what the doctors are telling you because they actually wanted to rip out her uterus. And at this time, she's 22 years old.
Wow.
And so long story short is I started to look at the concept of what they're teaching her, and I realized they teach all women this. And I started to really research all the things that they view on female hormones. And I have to say, like I said, two words I believe that can change the face of healthcare, and it's just I disagree. Because what happened is the way they look at it has led to even today, and once again, and I'm 21 years past this, and today I have a beautiful wife. I ended up marrying that woman, and we have 4 beautiful daughters. Okay, but I just looked at and I was 24 years old this time. I'm 45 now. I was 24 at this time. I looked at it, I said, I disagree with the way that they're telling you. And the funny part is, I can honestly tell you, I still said the same thing today. Because even though over the last 21 years, we have actually have done a great clinical work from our standpoint, that guess what happened? Is we still have more hospitals, more doctors, more stuff spelled in healthcare. I'm big into politics, and I watch the debates, and everybody talks about who's going to pay for healthcare. Well, guess what happens? If you have a bad idea and somebody else pays for it, it's still a bad idea.
It is.
All right? It's just paid by somebody else.
That's right.
So the idea is this. So the idea is the fact that it's like, people say, well, doc, but look at socialized medicine. Well, we actually have offices over in Europe, and guess what happens? Statistically, they're just as sick as we are. They actually, for example, they have just run a chronic illness. So think about it this way. We have more money spent all over the world in healthcare. We actually have more natural means ever in history, and the rates of illness keep going up because the thinking is wrong. So I decided, listen, it's time to change the thinking. And what I found out in females, and this is what made me come up with a very different form of healthcare for females, and both males too, but females predominantly, was the thinking still today dominates as it did 20 years ago. And I tell people, I wrote an international best-selling book called I Disagree. You can see it in the background right there. And it's kind of cool. And here's the funny thing about it, is I guarantee that I'll be saying the same thing 20 years from now. I haven't really changed much what I said in 20 years. It's just now that we have clinics all over the world and starting to train doctors how to do this, what happened was now people are starting to take a little bit of light to it, and that's how you actually saw our stuff. So that's a short synopsis of it, that way. So
perfect.
Well,
I mean,
well,
I have been watching some of the videos that you have, and especially my favorite ones are the ones that you have with your wife.
yes,
And
yes.
but it shows that you guys truly value the friendship and the companionship and the marriage that you two have.
Yes.
So I know you dive into hormones a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
we have had immense amount of people asking us about hormones.
Yep.
So let's please dive into hormones and give us a little breakdown as to
Yeah.
what they do, what the
Yes.
consequence of not having enough hormones are, and from there on.
Yes. Well, let's start with the thinking that will change the course of everybody listening to this, okay? And let's start with females, because obviously we see more female-dominant conditions ever in history. Let me give you a perfect example. If I were to put a pink ribbon right here, no matter where you are in the world, what does everybody think?
Cancer.
Yes,
Yeah.
breast cancer awareness. This may sound offensive, but just follow me on this. I don't think we need more breast cancer awareness. I think we need to think differently about breast cancer. Because we've had awareness of breast cancer for a long time. Rates still keep going up every year. So I said, we got to think differently. So let me start here. So let's even relate breast cancer and endometriosis, which my wife suffered from, okay? Her uterus was so thick, it was so devastating. Every time she had her cycle, she cried like crazy. Well, in general, a woman understands that breast cancer, endometriosis, adenomyosis, other estrogen-dominant conditions exist, okay? So here's what happens. Let me ask your audience, and I'm just going to put this into your head, then I'm going to answer the question for you. Is estrogen a hormone? And just by asking a question, I realized that no women on the planet understood hormones. So let me ask you guys all this question, all the audience right now. Is estrogen a hormone? And if you answered yes, you are incorrect, and that's why you are sick. See, everybody's going, that makes no sense, Doc. Estrogen's a hormone. No, my OB, no, follow me on here. Here we go. And I'll walk you through this. If you were to jump on your computer, so take any computer, jump on your computer, and type in the word estrogen. Estrogen is not a hormone. Estrogen is a name that dictates a lot of hormones. So it represents over 10 hormones, okay? For example, endometriosis, breast cancer, they talk about estrogen, but there's multiple estrogens. There's estrogens that cause an increase in growth of cells. There's estrogens that actually inhibit cancer, that stop breast cancer, stop endometriosis. So I got a simple thing, basic thing that changed the world of healthcare as far as hormones. I looked at women and said, okay, let's measure all of them. Let's test them. And what I found out was nobody in 21 years still has ever had their hormones tested completely. What do I mean? If you have over 10 estrogens and you measure one, if you're a cyclic woman, they measure estradiol. If you're menopausal, they measure estrone. Well, we've all done this, Doc. Have you ever been watching TV, saw a preview to the movie on TV, and it goes, man, honey, that looks like a good movie. Let's go see it. Then you go to the movie and go, man, that movie sucks, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we've all been there, but why? Because we made a judgment on the movie on one small clip. We base female healthcare on a small clip, and they don't even look at the whole concept of it. And the sad part is I looked at my wife's stuff, aka girlfriend at the time, and I looked at stuff and going, well, where's all the hormones? Well, no, they're right there. No, they're not. You actually have an incomplete view. So we're making judgments on female hormones with such an incomplete view, and I've never in 21 years have ever met a person come from a natural doctor, an OB, a gynecologist, an endocrinologist that have ever had their hormones even tested properly. Their testing is so incomplete. How can we get a view on what a woman's body is doing if it's incomplete? Because here's what happens. Estrogen has a physical component to it. We know that. They talk about it. They try to even inhibit it. But you know where the number one largest conglomerations of estrogen receptors is, Doc? In the brain. So there's a physical, so as I'm dealing with all these physical, so I'm a young, early 20s doctor, deal with all these physical problems with women. And then all of a sudden, a husband and wife came in one day and said, Doc, I thought my wife was crazy to come see you. You're a natural, you know, they think we get our education from a Cracker Jack box. And she saw all these great specialists before us. She goes, I'm telling you right now, my wife is a different person mentally. And I looked up from I was writing down my notes. I looked up and I going, and no joke, I won't lie to you. I'm like, really? And see, as a doctor, we're so taught to look at the physical component and didn't realize there's a major mental component that I was doing. I'm like, all right. So I started to listen. As a doctor, I started to listen to all these women and men. And I realized, and I said, you're right. Now then I put another one together. The hormones can affect the brain, but the brain can also affect the hormones. And then I found out the -- reason why actually hormones are bad in women today, and by far it's dominance mental stress. By far. And I always think this way. I always say this. Who stresses out more, men or women? Women. Who causes most women the most stress?
Men.
Men. See, there you go. Now, I want you to think about this, Doc. It's an overwhelming, no matter where you talk to any woman across the world. It doesn't matter if I'm in Europe, Mexico, United States, Canada, wherever I'm speaking. I say, now think about that, guys. You could be one of the greatest, actually, contributors to a woman's illness. It changed my view, even how to treat my wife. It's not a joke. And then all of a sudden I started teaching that. Next thing you know, churches are calling me to come speak, and marriage conferences. I'm going, I grew up north of Green Bay in a small town of 900 people, and I was told I could never become anything. I told that, for example, but then I just saw things differently. And then I started to prove it clinically, and we started to watch my wife's endometriosis reverse. You know why? Because the testing they did on her, it wasn't wrong, it was just incomplete. And I started to get the completeness of all these women's bodies. And we haven't got to men yet, okay? We haven't got to men yet, okay? And all of a sudden, their conditions started to reverse. They started to have babies when they told they were infertile. Their endometriosis became a normal uterus. Their PCOS reversed. Their mental depression reversed. Just from having a complete picture and knowing what to do and where it's coming from, that helped them reverse this process.
Wow. I have firmly believed that our mental status and basically stress acts like autoimmune, and it basically attacks the whole body, and it manifests itself differently.
Yes. Yes, it does.
So, Doc, I come to you and I say, Doc, I want to be very supportive of my wife, and I want her to be the healthiest soul there is.
Yes.
What's your recommendations?
It's very simple. Okay, so let's go through this in general. Okay, so let's say that same husband, I'll look at him and say, come over here, sir, and I'll step on his toe. Okay, and he'll say, ouch, and what will happen to his blood pressure, Doc? Up. It will go up. What will happen to his sugar levels in his bloodstream? It will go up. What happens to his cholesterol levels? Up. So his body is under a physical stressor, and therefore his body has to adapt to the stress and changes. And if we pull his blood right away, or if medical doctors pull their blood right away, they say, look he has high cholesterol, he has sugar problems, he has this. And I'm like, whoa. The body is responding. The body is responding and trying to survive a stress. See, when I look at any woman or any man, it's our job as clinicians is to find these stressors and start to remove them in the body, because the body's genetically programmed for normal. Any natural doctor or medical doctor or any clinical doctor that tells you that genes are a problem does not understand the human body. Please run from them. The body's genetically programmed for homeostasis, for normalcy. And so what should I do? Should I, if that guy has high blood pressure for me stepping on his toe, should I give him a drug to lower it? Should I give him an herb to lower it? Or should I get off his darn toe? Get off his toe. So my job as a clinician, your job as a clinician, is to remove the stressors. You say, Doc, well, give me a stressor. Well, here's what happens. Instead of being your toe, what if you have damaged subluxation, misalignment to your spine? Well, Doc, I went to a chiropractor and they adjusted me and a miracle happened. Well, sure, if that was the stress. But there's people that may have the same condition and got adjusted and nothing happened. Stop trying to put an adjustment into a medical therapy. That's not what happens. When you get adjusted, you remove a stress. If you have a bad mental state, it's our job to get you out of that state. If you eat something toxic, it's a stress to the body. So a clinician's job is to figure out and deal with all the stressors, and the stressors can change. The stressors can change. Women are going to be really stressed out in December. Why? The holidays. See, the reason why men are statistically less sick than women is because we just don't care. We don't stress out. You know, honey, it's Christmas. My parents are come over. We're like, who cares? And you stress her out from saying, who cares? Because she's different. She's supposed to care. And so I started to realize that men and women are so dramatically different. They're so, and here's what happens. And here's the people that don't like my message. When there's mental stress, guess what? We all know this. That stress hormone is cortisol. Doc, you know that like the back of your hand. But there's one connection, and this is where, when I started teaching this 20 years ago, it got unbelievably popular until the recently. Let me explain. Doc, and most doctors don't know this, so I'm not putting you on the spot. Most doctors don't know this. Where does cortisol come from?
Top of the kidneys.
Yeah, but here's what happens on the adrenals, but it converts from a hormone called progesterone. And so therefore, high stress to a woman's body will deplete their progesterone. That is one of the dominant female hormones needed for a woman. Chronic stress will deplete a woman's female hormones.
Wow.
It doesn't come from testosterone. It's why a guy can be stressed out all day long, have a horrible day, smash his toe, and at night still want to have sex. Yet if a woman has any kind of stress, her sex drive is gone because her progesterone depletes and she has no drive.
Wow.
Do you see him? And so when I started to stop telling me men and women are the same. They are not the same. What happens is a guy's body can handle a stress, a woman's body cannot. That's why men should exercise every day. If women exercise every day, they're being extremely sick. Because women can push their body to stress, exercise itself. Now, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be active, but there's certain times in the cycle a woman should exercise and certain times they should not. And if they do, they'll deplete their hormones and they don't realize they're hurting themselves by exercising.
Well, Dr. Flynn, you just opened a whole new can of worms here. With regards to hormones, obviously, in today's day and age, it's very difficult to stay away from what we call stressors. Could be physical, mental, emotional, or chemical. Now, you have some people that I'm sure they come to you and they're stressed about anything. Everything is stressful to them. And they say they just can't shut their brain off. What do you do for those kind of people?
Marijuana. Okay, now let me make everybody laugh right there. But do you know why marijuana is so abused? Now, I'm against smoking, just to let you guys know. Just to get there. I'm totally against smoking, because when you smoke, you create toxic chemicals. But here's what happens. Do you know why marijuana is actually so abused? It's because it just takes the stress off of people. It does. And their whole physiology changes. What do you think PTSD is and stuff like that? It's a constant mental picture they can't get out of their head, and at least it calms it down. So like, well, they're addicted to it. No. They're addicted to not being stressed out anymore. They're not addicted to marijuana. Okay? They're not addicted to heroin. They're addicted to what the feeling comes from it that way because it calms them down. Now, let me give you an example. So that's an extreme example of what a person can do, and that's why I believe it's there. Now, just to let you guys know, so everybody knows my stance, I'm very vocal, and as you can tell, I get a lot of criticism, but I don't keep people say. I'm against smoking it, but I'm not against people doing it edibly-wise or oil-wise. Okay? Just be under a good care of a person that knows what they're doing. Second of all, if you don't want to go that extreme, you can actually take some things from an herbal standpoint that do amazing jobs. My favorite one by far is California poppy. It actually, for example, feeds the nervous system to help your body adapt to the stress. Okay? As I tell people is this, there's things you can take that if you eat too much sugar. Now, me as your doctor is going to say this, reduce the mental stress, don't eat the sugar, otherwise I'm going to give you this herb that's going to cost you $80 a bottle, which is going to hurt you financially. But the idea is this, but if you're not going to do it, I have to at least give you something to compensate for your sassiness, okay? And so that's what I tell people. So I say, listen, and then we can consistently test your stress hormones. We can consistently test where your body's at so we know what a person needs. See, it's not just, see, I don't want everybody to stress out, go run for a California poppy. I want to go find the stressors, and then I want to see where your system's at so we can keep it kind of normal, do you see, Sam? And then it gives us time to work on your stressors.
Now, some people, as you see, some people are just addicted to having stress. It's just so addictive to them because they get that fight or flight response, and that gives them a high. And without it, they just don't know. They're just lost.
Well, it's like runners. Doc, I get a runner high. Good. When you're really sick, you'll pay me thousands of dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, what they're doing, they're getting an epinephrine push, a norepinephrine push. Well, guess what? Just take a shot of adrenaline. You say, just take something synthetic. I mean, and I'm trying to be funny and facetious on this to try to spark people's thinking, but I take it really seriously. They can't do that stuff because what it's going to do, but then they can, this is the part where people don't like. Then when you develop cancer from it, or you develop diabetes, or if you're overweight, you're looking for something else to blame, and it's you. And it's you. It's not the doctor's fault. Now, I think doctoring has set people up for very bad things. Because here's the typical doctor visit. Doc, what's wrong with you, ma'am? I don't have energy. Good, take this drug, let me know if you feel better. Okay? No figuring out, no proper testing, no actually looking at what's the things throwing it off that way. Just always trying to compensate for losses. And next thing you know, they're taking 10 drugs, and they can feel great, but they're actually end up with major cancer and other things that way. They say, oh, it's your genetics. It's your genetics. It's not your genetics. Actually, your body's going to do everything it can to respond even to what you do to it. Guess what? It's snowy here in Green Bay today. If I walk outside, butt naked outside, guess what happens? All my blood is going to pool towards my core. Is that stupid or smart as my body's trying to respond to the cold stress?
Smart.
Your body doesn't make mistakes. You do. Your body doesn't make mistakes. Yes, it does, Doc. No, it doesn't. If you developed a tumor, you did to survive. Otherwise, you would have already died. If my blood didn't come into my core, I would have already died. It has to adapt to the stress, even if it has to lose a limb, even if it has to do those things. And we're just under such chronic stress. We eat more horrible than ever. We actually don't get enough sleep. We have more chemicals in our environment. We have more medications ever in history. People don't get adjusted anymore. They do all these things, and then they come and they go, Doc, I don't know why I'm sick. No, the thinking has led you why you're sick today. See, my wife was 22 years old when I met her. 22 years old. Okay, how did she get so sick? Because the people who took care of her since her little never taught her how to take care of her hormones. Never knew how to actually, why they're thrown off. But you know what stuff is this? They had no problem wanting to rip her uterus out. What would have happened to her? Not a joke. I think about this all the time. I thank God for this all the time. What would have happened if they would have listened to her, the docs? What would have happened? And that's what people say, my doctor said. I don't care what your doctor said. I don't care what your doctor said. When they're going to rip out your uterus at 22 years old or even 55 years old. See, it seems extreme at 22. It seems normal at 55. There's something wrong with that.
Well, Dr. Flynn, I see the passion truly in you for the subjects that you cover. Now, I often am told that, Doc, you treated this, and I always say, I don't treat nothing. I just facilitate your body to improve itself, and innate does the rest.
That's right. It's genetically here. Watch this. If I cut my finger, guess what happens? It's genetically programmed to heal.
That's right.
How fast it heals, it's about how much stress you have on your body.
And same thing with degeneration. I always say degeneration is not truly a disease. It's a lack of regeneration that catches up and becomes degeneration, basically. Now, just in case some of our male viewers will complain later, can you please go over the testosterone and the relation to stress and how stress does the whole thing, please?
Yes. Here's what happens. I thank God every day I'm not a woman, okay? Because we have it so much easier. Let me say it again. I thank God every day I'm not a woman because we have so much easier. And every woman on your audience just said, amen, doc, I now will listen to you, okay? And here's why. But let me show you the biochemistry and the physiology. Everything I just taught you, you can look up in a book. But they don't picture it this way, and so therefore they'll never figure it out. So here's what happens. Let's talk about this. Testosterone. There's only 2 things you need for testosterone, okay? And guess what? It's not a supplement. Let me say it again. It's not a supplement. So if you watch any kind of sports, you're going to see the big hurt baseball player and all these, every freaking testosterone boosting supplement, which are scams. Let me say it again. Now I'll show you why they have some change, but it's a big misleading thing, and that's why I call them a scam. Let me explain. So there's only 2 things you need to produce testosterone. Well, let's give you 3, but 2 things. Number 1, a brain hormone called LH, luteinizing hormone. Number 2, cholesterol. And number 3, no damage to your testicle. That's it. Because your brain will tell your testicle to use cholesterol to produce a hormone. Yes, I just said that. Every hormone anabolically in the body is made from cholesterol. So any doctor that tells you cholesterol is bad, please run. Because here's what happens. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. If it is, why have we been lowering it for 60 years and the rate of heart disease still goes up every single year? Because of the thinking. So therefore, that's why if you look at the side effects of statin drugs, drugs that lower overall cholesterol, guess what happens? One of the major side effects is what?
Lack of sex drive.
Yes, sex drive, impotence, vaginal dryness if you're a woman because you lower your estrogens, which create vaginal lubrication. See, so if you look at all these things that way, see, they know the biochemistry, they just want to manipulate it, okay? So if you think of it this way, but you say, doc, you know, trauma to the testicle, yes, because there's people that get things like vasectomies, which is a trauma to the testicle, okay? And they wonder why they show that, for example, guys that get vasectomies actually lose some testosterone production, and they don't know why. Well, once again, because they don't understand the human body. So therefore, guess what? And I say, well, doc, then why is low T clinics and supplementation popping up like crazy? Well, here's why. And I'll show you why some of the supplementation actually changes a couple things. Well, in order to produce testosterone, you need cholesterol and a couple other ingredients. So it gives you a couple of those ingredients, okay? But here's what happens. The reason why it goes low isn't because there's a lack of production. It's because it converts, just like progesterone converts into cortisol and cortisone. Testosterone converts into the estrogens. It's why breast cancer is becoming so prevalent in men in all-time history. You say, doc, but then what is the stimulating stress that actually converts testosterone to estrogen? And doc, guess what it is? Sugar.
Wow.
Women will be destroyed by mental stress. Men will be destroyed by sugar. Guess what happens? If all you guys take this from this thing here today, ladies, understand, keep this good. Men, get away from the sugar, and a lot of health problems will go away.
Wow. Well, truly, they have said the white evil of our generation has been the sugar and the salt.
Yeah. Now watch this. Let me give you a natural thing. Well, doc, what can I take to help me with my testosterone? Well, if I give you something that reduces your absorption of sugar, like Gymnema, which is $100 a bottle, guess what happens? You'll reduce some sugar absorption. Therefore, you'll have a little bit more testosterone. But see what they do, they say testosterone boosting. You can't boost testosterone. Your body knows what it needs to do. So stop using these boosting words or actually increase this. No. What happens is this. You have to stop doing bad stuff, stressing your body out that needs that in the first place. Okay? But if you're going to eat sugar, I'm going to give you a bottle of Gymnema for $80 and keep you on the rest of your life.
Now,
but see, I won't take responsibility for their bad habit.
For the LH, is there any way to increase the LH in our brain?
There is, and stuff. But see, I kind of don't want to tell you what it is, but I will tell you what it is just because you're asking, because I don't want people to get in this mindset of take this for this, take this for this. No. You have to dig deep for the stressors. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you can take Tribulus, that's an LH stimulatory thing to the brain, to get the pituitary to release a little bit more LH. But see, that's what people say, well, doc, I took triples, my testosterone go up. Yeah, because you probably had normal LH. Did you measure LH levels? See, the motto is we don't guess, we test. And so I started to test the complete view of testosterone. See, guys, listen. You have to have the complete hormone testing for guys. If you don't test estradiol, you don't know if your testosterone is converting. You don't know if you're deficient LH. You don't know if you're deficient these things. That's the idea of testing properly. And if all you've had measured was your testosterone, free testosterone, your testing is incomplete. So I got famous all over the world on this stuff, speaking at medical conferences, natural conferences, everything, from saying, guys, your view of everything is incomplete. None of you guys would just watch a movie clip.
And unfortunately now in Canada, our testing procedures are not as elaborate as United States. And unfortunately, ours, I mean, to test for homeostasis, unheard of.
Yep. Well, you can do it. You just got to pay cash for it.
Of course, of course.
And see, that's the thing. See, because that's what people say, doc, you know, at least Canada has socialized medicine. Well, they just have somebody else pay for a bad idea. That's it. And we argue about it. In the United States, if you watch the Democratic debates and stuff like that, and you watch, even if there's Republican debates, it's like, who's going to pay for health insurance? I'm like going, guys, whoever pays for a bad thinking, a bad idea, why do you think insurance rates keep going up? Because we keep getting sicker. Well, here's what happens, doc. I can probably assume, just by knowing you, and you knowing me, guess what happens? I don't need insurance. I have it in case I break my leg in an accident, so I have a very low insurance premium, and I have six. My insurance is pretty cheap. You know why? I never use it. I basically donate to them. Do you say them? Because why? Because I do the things. See, people look at my testosterone and say, doc, you have a testosterone of 800. Testosterone goes down as you're after 40. No, it doesn't. Testosterone does not go down as you get older. The people who take care of you actually allowing your body to degenerate and be sick, and then by statistically, it's common for testosterone to show that it goes down as you get age, but it's not normal. Do not confuse common with normal.
It is profound that most of what we hear is, well, it's aging. It is degeneration. You're getting too old. You can't stop doing it. And like I said before, the degeneration is caused because of lack of regeneration and basically not taking care of the cause of the stressor.
Well, let's talk about this. Doc, do you have x-rays up by you?
Yes.
Okay, so I guarantee in your clinical experience that you have seen an L5, which is the most common degenerative joint of the body that way, L5S1. I guarantee you've seen degeneration on fifth lumbar disc, correct? Yeah. Let me just question them. And like I said, and you know the answer, I'm just trying to show the audience this. Have you ever seen degeneration on L5 but a perfect L2, L3 disc?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a question for you. How old is that degenerative 5 disc compared to the second and third disc?
Same age.
Oh, wait, so there's trauma, stress, and degeneration at that segmental level. It's not age, because if it was age, every disc would have degenerated evenly.
Exactly. Very true.
It's like, so how is it age? Or maybe it's not age. Maybe the person that was taught how to take care of their spine by their medical doctor, by their other doctors, didn't know how to take care of it. You know, there's only one health profession in the world. There's only one. They're called dentists. Let me explain. A dentist says, brush, floss, take care of them, don't eat sugar, and if you're sassy, I'm going to work on you. It's going to cost you a ton of money. So I come along and say, brush, floss, stressors. Let's dig deep and reverse them. If you're sassy, here's all the stuff that's going to cost you a ton of money. Different way of looking at it.
It definitely is. And unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it's just because of the generations before us. We are much rather take a pill to relieve a stressor rather than really, truly going after the root cause of the issue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the idea. It's like, look for the stressors. See, even medicine, all medicines do, and by definition, all they do is compensate for your problems for a certain amount of time. I don't care if it's high blood pressure, I don't care if it's cancer, I don't care if it's diabetes, I don't care what it is. It's meant to compensate for your body being out of homeostasis. Well, that only leads to more degeneration somewhere else. And eventually, the medication won't work. There's not one medication you can be on for the rest of your life that has to not change. Oh, doc, I've had blood pressure for 30 years. Blood pressure medication for 30 years. Yeah? Has it always been the same? No, exactly.
Now, Dr. Flynn, what about thyroid? You hear a lot about hypo and hyperthyroidism. And unfortunately, I don't know if you're having a pandemic of it, but you hear a lot in the office, at least in my office, every second, third person has it, especially hypo.
Yep. Okay, let me stand here. And do we have 5 minutes?
Yeah,
take me 5 minutes
go ahead, no problem.
So I'm going to type something on my computer here too, okay? So here's what happens. Let me make a statement. Let me shock the audience, and then I'll prove it to you. There is no such thing as a thyroid problem. There is no such thing as a hormonal problem, okay? Let me go through this. So here's a question for you. So I'm going to top on, it doesn't matter if you're in Canada, it doesn't matter if you're in Europe, it doesn't matter if you're in the United States. Every person can look this up. If you go on to the PDR, the physician's desk reference, what is that? You have to understand their medications can interact and there has to be contraindications for medications. Do you follow me? Okay. This is all over the world. Okay. So this comes from the drug companies and stuff like that. Well, doc, what is the most common thyroid medication used?
Thyroxine?
Yeah, levothyroxine. 100% right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the contraindications. Okay. So I'm pulling up so you look, levothyroxine. Okay, levothyroxine. I'm going to pull up the contraindications. What does that mean? That means you cannot take this drug. You cannot take this drug if this is an issue. So here we go. So I'm going to pull it up here for you guys. And once again, you guys could go out, do it at home and do this with me. Just jump on PDR, type in levothyroxine, scroll down. I'm scrolling down right now. I scroll down to contraindications. Number one contraindications for levothyroxine, adrenal insufficiency. What does that mean? That means if you have weak adrenals, you cannot take this medication because it will cause your adrenals to go really bad. Because you know why? The adrenals have a major effect on if the thyroid goes up and down. Doc, let's go through some basic physiology. There's only two things that really speed up the heart. It's the adrenals and the thyroid. So if the adrenals get stressed out like crazy, like if I come through to attack anybody, the adrenals have to kick up and produce all the adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol to adapt to that stress. Now wait, the thyroid now cannot work because if you push them both up at the same time, doc, a person can have a heart attack. So the adrenals go, or the thyroid goes, holy crap, I got to shut down. I got to shut down. Let me say again, I got to shut down. See, there is no such thing as a thyroid problem. The thyroid responds to other organ stressors and adapts on what's going on. So if you address the thyroid problem, not only can you hurt other parts of your body, but it's an organ that responds to everything going on. So it's like they're putting the cart before the horse. So you can measure, doc, no, my T4 is low. Okay, what's your adrenals at? Well, I don't know. Well, even according to medication, you have to test your adrenals before you can legally even give you levothyroxine. Do you understand by law that they are not even supposed to give you levothyroxine unless you've had a picture of your of your adrenals, but also here, almost 90% of thyroid issues come from autoimmune. That means the immune system affects the thyroid. So there's no such thing as a thyroid problem. There's other factors that do it. There's other factors that contribute to it. So if you're looking at this one organ, guys, remember this analogy. Doc, you've probably seen this. The body is like a Swiss watch. It doesn't matter if you affect the smallest, littlest gear. It can throw off so many systems. If I smash your big toe, what happens to your heart rate?
It's going to go up.
It goes, but wait, should we give something to lower the heart rate?
No.
But wait, doc, but high heart rate can kill you. It can cause a seizure. It can cause a stroke. And aren't you scared?
No.
See, this is the thinking that we know, but the average public is.
Yeah.
So anybody natural or medical that addresses thyroid issues, they don't know what they're doing.
So, doc, now that we have addressed the thyroid, and I know time is valuable, and I appreciate your time, can we talk a little bit about diabetes? Because I know I'm going to get questions for it, and people are going to complain, why didn't you cover it? So,
all right, let's cover it, okay? Let's cover it. So it's really simple. Obviously, when you look at diabetes, there's two types, okay? So let's just call it like it is on one of them, and then let's look in detail on the other. If you have type 2 diabetes, you and I are going to have a very tough conversation because I'm going to tell you to finally step up to the plate and stop filling your mouth full of junk. Okay? That's why it's called, that's why, for example, get this. It's a condition-based disease. That means you set the environment, the conditions of it. Doc, my blood sugar's high. Yeah, knock it off. Don't touch fruit. Don't touch grains. Don't touch anything, for example, that has anything in the sugar. And guess what? You won't have a problem. That's simple. You say, it's habitual. I think giving insulin shots or anything for type 2 diabetics or any oral medication is malpractice. Why are you compensating for them being destructive? I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong, and I have no problem having tough conversations with the people. Because you know what happens is this, guys? This is not a joke. You know what scares me more than anything? It's not cancer, it's not heart disease, it's diabetes. Because when your blood sugar goes up, your insulin goes up. Insulin is a growth hormone. It ages you very quickly. It's a myogenic hormone. See, people don't realize that insulin's a growth hormone. You have cancer, it'll speed it up. You want to age, speed it up. So you want to slow down your aging process that way. You don't want to advance it. Drop your sugars, both men and women. And so diabetes being such a huge thing, it's because we're in a culture that just thinks they can stuff their face full of grains and everything and use things like moderation, like that's okay. Remember, food's very emotional. That's why people get very upset when you tell them not to do something they want to do, okay? Now, if you're type 1, it's a whole different scenario. Type 1 is an autoimmune process. That means you trigger the immune system. It will actually cause damage to the pancreas, and now it can't adapt to your blood sugar. So do they have to be very careful on their blood sugar? Absolutely. But they need to go actually find out the things that trigger the immune system that cause damage. That's how we get people off their insulin pumps. That's how we get people to actually reverse those processes. You say, how? Find out things that trigger the immune system. Food allergies, bacteria, infections, all those things. Okay, and those can be tested for. For example, let me tell you the clinical reason why I became a doctor and what affected my brain's anaphylactic egg allergy. That means if I eat an egg, there is a disruption that happens in my GI that affects the psychological aspect of my brain. It's called the gut-brain connection. But guess what? There's a gut diabetes, there's a gut-pancreas connection. There's a gut-all connections because the immune system resides all the way through our GI and also other lymphatic organs. And if you trigger that immune system, there's systemic inflammation and damage to an organ, okay? And it can be your pancreas. So, well, don't just try to compensate with insulin. Find out the immune triggers, bring the immune system down, the destruction of pancreas go down, and then you can start rebuilding the pancreas. Rebuilding the pancreas. Oh, doc, my beta cells are dead. There's no lab test that ever shows that. That is an assumption, and it's a lie.
Wow. Obviously, fruit for thought and truly informative. I'm grateful to have you on. Now, at the end, I need 3 things from you.
Yes.
What's the ritual you do every morning or every day that you do it all the time?
It's very simple, okay? And I'm happy you changed that because I've done well. I've done well financially. I've done well things like that because I've actually, prioritized my life and things like that. But people say, Doc, what's your morning routine? Because, man, you're so successful, you have to have a morning routine. I don't have a morning routine. Let me explain why. If you have a morning routine, then what happens is the world revolves around you. And I have a beautiful wife and kids. Anybody that has children, you could have a morning routine, get up at 5 a.m. every single day, and a child wakes you up at 2 o'clock. You don't want to get up at 5 a.m., okay? So what happens is this. I base my life on the priorities, and then I'm a very good time manager. And what do I mean? Priorities, let me define them for you, are nothing more than what you want in your life. That's it. And we get to choose. Not my mom gets to choose, not my dad. You can't blame your bad teacher. You can't blame your college debt. You can't blame all these things. You choose what you want in my life. So I have a priority list, and actually there's a hierarchy. I have God. I'm a person of faith, so Jesus to me is number 1. Then guess what? I have myself. I have my wife, I have my kids, I have the wellness way, and I have golf. I have 6 things in my life, and I work on them every day. Well, Doc, what are you doing Christmas? My priorities. Doc, what are you doing this? My priorities. I guarantee, Doc, now that you have met me and know me, you know what I do every day. So, wait, no, Doc, 4 days a week, 365 days a year. 365 days a year. I'm actually and they say, and here's one thing that I will show you, ladies, how to think about this. And I will tell you this. Ladies, you want to reduce your mental stress? Understand your priorities and your hierarchy. Any woman that tells me that she puts her kids or her husband above herself will be very stressed out and eventually resent them. Because you know why? Because here's what happens. I won't even let my wife put me as a priority before her. That's why you like our husband-wife videos that way. I will make sure, because once again, because remember, if I have 2 things to drink right here. And they say, I always love this, 2 halves make a whole. No, they don't. Because if I take a half and I dump it in here, you have 1 full cup and you have an empty cup.
That's true.
So I want to be a full individual. So therefore, when I go to my wife, she gets the best of me. When I go to the Wellness Way, they get the best of me. When I go to my kids, when I go to things, it's the best of me. Well, what's the difference in my wife? I want her to be the fullness of herself. So both of us are Christian people. I believe, when we're staying focused on God, we can work on ourselves, and it's quite amazing. That's my personal belief and stuff like that and stuff. So it's like, so therefore, now when I engage with my wife, she gets the best of me. When I engage a patient, they get the best of me that way. Vice versa, my wife does it. And as a couple, we keep each other accountable for those priorities. You need other people. And the greatest thing, the success that I ever hit was the greatest success in life. So, but this is also a business thing. The greatest success when I really hit it high was I realized there's not one thing in this world that you can do by yourself. You need other people. And if you understand that, you look at everybody different. You look at who you're married to. You look at your kids. You look at your colleagues. You look at docs like you. Well, Doc, you didn't know, Doc. Honestly, I don't mean this negatively. I don't even know how to pronounce your name. Do you say it?
It's Covet.
Covet. But see what happens. You need me and I need you.
Yeah.
So therefore, well, why don't I just get on here and charge $1,000 because I have internet, the same book? No. I need you and you need me. Guess what happens? And we need each other. And we look at the world differently. I'm huge into politics. My background is actually, besides nutrition, is politics. But why, if the Democrats look at the Republicans, they go, listen, we need each other. We do. We can have a different view, and we can come to some conclusions. My wife and I need each other. Do you really think my wife and I see everything the same?
No.
If you do, you are living in a weird place. Because by nature, their hormones will cause them to think differently. See, so I don't get into man or woman. I don't get into political parties. I don't get into races. I don't get stuff like this way. If you have the concept that you need other people, you'll be extremely successful because how you approach them will be different. But I'll approach them from being full, meaning the fact that, obviously I said love of God in your heart, and therefore, guess what happens? Now I can deal with other people and try to do the best to them. And I believe that has led to some good success. And I just keep on replicating it.
Well, Dr. Flynn, can you please tell us where people can find you? Where can you be reached? Email addresses, websites, and all the related information. So if anybody needs to reach you, they can.
Yeah, it's just easiest way because I'm literally going to do a Q&A today on Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Dr. Patrick Flynn Facebook page. Just type in Dr. Patrick Flynn. The Wellness Way, that's our clinics all over the world and stuff. And I put out, and here's what happens. The coolest thing, and I mean this sincerely, and Doc, you've heard me say this if you see my stuff. I constantly put out information. I don't know what a person needs unless you're tested. If your patients, for example, call me and say, Doc, when you need somebody, call Doc. He knows your stressors. He knows what you need. So that's why people say, Doc, you don't sell anything. No, how can I sell anything? If anything, I give stuff away like crazy on my stuff. I give away labs. I give away stuff that my staff's here in my studio going, yeah, I give a ton of stuff away. Because once again, because everybody's trying to say, here's this magic supplement. And guess what happens? If you just take this for $19.95, everything in your life will be better. But they don't realize that, and they'll have testimonials. I took this and my arm grew back. Okay? And I can't even disagree with that. Maybe it did, but not every one-armed man would grow their arm back. See, that's the thing. It's like, stop. Just be honest with people. Share your heart, share your love, and just guess what? So when you follow my information on the Wellness Way or follow my on the Facebook page that way, it's just going to be constantly putting out good information so you can take it and go, I can do better.
You know, I have to say that when I reached out to you for the information and for the interview, there was no hesitation, and you got back to me right away, which is absolutely amazing. I'm grateful for all the information I received from you. Our viewers, this was a very informative interview with Dr. Patrick Flynn. Give us a heart, give us a like, share as much as you can. Go find him on internet and on Facebook. Dr. Flynn, thank you again for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll see you in another